This is a public service announcement on the Zika virus, prepared by epidemiologist Dr. Bourne, myself, and Dr. Rasal next to me. What is an epidemiologist? We are scientists who study diseases within populations of people. We analyze what causes the disease outbreaks in order to treat existing diseases and prevent future outbreaks. We find patient zero. We seek to reduce the risk and occurrence of negative health outcomes through research, community education, and health policy.
What is the Zika virus? The Zika virus is transmitted from the bite of an affected Aedes species of mosquito. Mosquitoes may bite during the day and night, so you're at risk every single day. Many people infected won't have symptoms or will have mild symptoms and probably won't even know they're infected.
The symptoms are typically flu-like, and they include fever, rash, joint pain, and conjunctivitis, but often can also include muscle pain and headache, and these symptoms can last up to a week.
How does Zika spread? Zika can spread from a pregnant woman to her fetus, which causes the birth defect of microcephaly, causing incomplete brain development. It's found in travelers' blood who have been infected, so mosquitoes can transmit the diseases from person to person. It's also transmitted through sex and blood transfusions, but that's very likely but not confirmed.
Who should be concerned about getting the Zika virus? Well, we should all be concerned with getting the Zika virus, even if you don't live in a tropical climate. It has been found that it can be transmitted to a type of mosquito that lives through the cold, which means it can travel further north in the United States. So anyone who lives or travels to areas where Zika virus is found, such as Brazil or the Caribbean islands, are at high risk. Pregnant women should be the most concerned out of all of us because it causes developmental issues in their fetuses. People who have unprotected sex are at a higher risk, especially if you plan on getting pregnant. People who receive blood transfusions, although this is only a theory at this point in time, people who have been exposed to the Zika virus by a laboratory or a healthcare setting are also at a very high risk. Residents of warm, moist tropical areas such as Puerto Rico or Brazil, the Caribbean islands, are at a very high risk because of the increased amount of mosquitoes in the area.
What are we going to do to prevent the epidemic from worsening? We can avoid mosquito bites by using insect repellent and wearing long sleeve clothes. We can travel less, especially to places where Zika is found. Restrain from engaging in sexual activity, but if you can't restrain, please use condoms because it can reduce the chance of getting Zika.
Our action plan is to create a cheap and accessible Zika vaccine. With the support of our government and pharmacies throughout the country, we will be able to administer the vaccine to a vast majority of citizens, and by getting the government to add it to the no-go list, which is a list of vaccines that students must have before they can attend school, we can prevent young children from getting the disease and also further on in life, so this won't be an epidemic in the future as well. And the issue of getting this vaccine to poor people is to make this vaccine relatively cheap, especially for middle class families, and to try to administer it to as many free clinics as possible so that everyone has access to this vaccine and we can cut this disease off early.
Here are some facts and statistics. People usually don't get sick enough to go to the hospital, and they are very rarely die of Zika, but it mostly affects fetuses, and that's where most of the symptoms are affected by. Once a person has been affected with Zika, they are likely to be protected from future infections because the body is used to the virus. And it actually originated in Africa in 1947. It's not a new disease, but it was named after the Zika forest in Uganda because that's where it was found. To date, the CDC has reported 3,951 travel-associated cases in the U.S. states and 28,627 locally acquired in U.S. territories.
So what should the public do if they suspect that they or a colleague has contacted the Zika virus or come in contact with the Zika virus? Well, you should begin by calling your normal doctor and then proceed to avoid pregnant women as they are at a higher risk than most people. And lastly, refrain from having sex, especially unprotected sex, as this is how the disease spreads. Thank you, and wish a veteran happy Veterans Day tomorrow.